I'm going to play tennis.
Oh, it really makes you want to play tennis, doesn't it?
I know, it makes me... I was going to say it makes me want to have a three-way. Nothing.
It really makes you want to play tennis. It really makes me want to have a three-way. Hi, welcome back to the Horny Book Club.
This is the Horny Film Club, actually.
Welcome back to the Horny Film Club. I'm Alice.
I'm Ellen.
And this week we're talking about challenges.
I
was about to be like Challenges by Zendaya.
Challenges by Zendaya.
Challenges by Zendaya. My favourite book.
This is the first episode of Horny Film Club.
Yeah.
There is going to be another episode of Horny Film Club.
Listen, all that happened was we both saw it alone. I saw it on the day it came out. Did you see it on the Saturday?
Did it come out on Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on Saturday.
Yeah, we both went alone. And
why we didn't go together? But you had already gone.
I know. It was just
and I was like, oh, I know she was at the cinema yesterday. I reckon this is what she saw. So I'm just going to go.
I just was like, I've got a day
Saturday,
off. I want to go to the cinema. And I did. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Did you see it in Everyman?
I saw it in Everyman. I had a glass of wine, which I felt like I kind of needed.
We're just going to talk about challenges for a bit. Short one, bonus app. We just were like, we can't not, because it's feasibly one of the horniest films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it. Before we get into the podcast, don't forget that you can follow us on Instagram at the H Book Club. You can follow us on TikTok, HBC Podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which I assume you're already watching, HBC Podcast. You can send us emails to hornybookclub@gmail.com. Please send your reviews, your recommendations, your thoughts, your feelings, your biggest successes and your greatest losses.
How your week's been. One thing you're looking forward to in the upcoming week.
One thing you're grateful for in your life. And one thing you think you could improve.
Yeah, we'll be your gratitude journal if you want. Just send us an email every day, every morning and every night. Thank you to those who have reached out on Instagram.
Shout out to the girlies on Instagram.
Oh, we love the girlies on Instagram.
You know who you are.
We love chatting to you. It's so fun. Oh, rate us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice.
Follow us on this. Oh God. Follow us on your platform.
Follow us on your platform podcast of choice, and please rate us 5 stars.
No, you said platform podcast as well.
Oh, I didn't even realise.
And you were like, I'm doing this so well.
I'm doing it really well. Follow us on your podcast platform of choice and rate us 5 stars while you're there, please.
Thank you.
Challenges by Zendaya.
Well, give them a synopsis. We can do that.
Oh yeah, I can give you a synopsis. It's a threesome. The whole film's a threesome.
Oh.
In Challenges, we are following a female pro tennis player, Tashi Duncan. We are also following 2 male pro tennis players, Art and Patrick. We start when they're young. She is playing singles. She's winning everything. She's like the gal to keep your eye on. She's going to be the best tennis player in the world. They are playing doubles. They're playing against each other in the junior singles finals, and they're kind of like, I don't really care. They're just having a nice time.
We're at like tennis boarding school together.
Yeah, we're just having a good goofy time together. I like playing sports with my buddy.
Yeah.
But they meet Tashi Duncan. They go and watch her play, and she's so good that they both instantly fall in love.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's an element of competition between them that's never been there before.
Oh, good point.
They go to a party where they meet her again and go and chat with her, and they're both really hitting on her, and they both give her the thing of like, pick one of us basically, which they both want a number. Isn't this going to cause problems? No, it never has, never will.
She's like, I don't want to be a home wrecker. Iconic line.
Yeah. She says, whichever one of you wins the match tomorrow, I will give my number to. But before that, she goes to their hotel room and they have like
the craziest three-way kiss I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched a lot of Geordie Shore.
So many three-way kisses in Geordie Shore. And like early Love Island.
The originator of the three-way kiss, I would argue, Geordie Shore.
Yeah.
Like Gaz.
Charlotte and Vicky all necking on.
No, not Vicky.
Vicky would never.
Gaz, Charlotte and Holly.
Yeah.
Or Gaz, Charlotte and Scotty T.
Oh, all the time.
Or Scotty T and 2 girls you'll never see again.
Yeah, Scotty T and 2 random girls in the club. I can't believe they based this film on Scotty T. Crazy. So yeah, they have a 3-way kiss. It ends with an iconic scene that if you've seen the trailer, you'll know, where she's kissing them both, and then she pushes the boys together to kiss, and then she just like leans back and does the classic look that we all know.
She's wearing the like cropped pink zip up, and she's like leaning back. She's got her long curly hair,
freshly washed hair.
Yeah.
So then Patrick wins that tournament against Art. So Zendaya and Patrick begin dating, but I've got to stop calling her Zendaya. Tashi and Patrick start dating, whilst Tashi and Art both go to Stanford College to play tennis and to get their degrees.
Yeah, and Patrick's like, why aren't you going pro? I'm going pro, and you're both going to Stanford. That's really lame. You're both losers.
And they're like, because I want to be good at more than just hitting a ball with a racket.
And he's like,
nah, I'm going to just be good at that.
Couldn't give a shit.
And so then when they're there, Tashi breaks her knee and can no longer play tennis professionally. Her and Patrick break up because just before the match where she breaks her knee, they have a massive fight. So she kind of like blames her being off on that. So they break up. Then however many years later pass, Art and Patrick are both playing at this competition, Grand Slam Open thing. I don't know. Tashi's there coaching someone else. Art is like, be my coach. She says yes. They snog in a car park. They are together. We then jump however many years, they're married. Art is like, again, one of the best tennis players in the world, down to her coaching, everyone says. And he is in an off season. He did something to his shoulder. He's back. He's trying to win. It's not happening.
He's got the yips. He can't play properly.
Yeah. He's in a funk.
Yeah.
So she's like, let's just enter you in a random challenges in some random town in New York where you know you'll beat everyone. You will win. But they get there. Guess who signed up for the challenges? It's only bloody Patrick.
Oh, Patrick, what are you doing
Because he's poor now, even though he's got really rich parents. I don't fully understand, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, this will be really easy for me. I'm going to win. I'll get the $7,000 and it will help my ranking and maybe I'll get back to like playing in the big league competitions. Tell you what's not going to help your funk that you're in is seeing your coaches / wives.
Coach / wife, not wife / coach.
Well,
yeah.
Coach / wife.
Yeah, good point.
Her ex, who is also your ex-best friend, who you've had some weird homoerotic relationship with for years and years.
And we all know you've kissed at least once.
Patrick's like to Zendaya, to Tashi, coach me, and she's like, you, what an outrageous thing to say.
And he's like, but anyway, here's my number. And she's like, I won't have it.
I won't take it.
Thank you.
I will not be taking this. Puts it in her pocket, walks away. Because Art has been like, I'm retiring. Because Art is done. He's done. He wants to hang out with his daughter. Fair.
Tashi's like, yeah.
Tashi's like, do you want to hang out with your kid? Gross. That's what my mum's here for. Pathetic.
Oh yeah, poor mum.
Her poor mum. And then it comes to Patrick and Arta in the final tennis match. That's the overall gist.
Yeah, so it sort of skips back and forth. Like we see the very beginning. You know that Art and Tashi are already married because like that we're in the present at the beginning and then you go back and forth.
Yeah.
And throughout you get the clips from the end tennis match of them like sort of the who's winning is shifting back and forth and like in bits they're annoyed and in bits they're enjoying it and like.
And Tashi's doing the classic frown that she does every 20 seconds and then she gets up and walks away and Art's like, oh no, and then she comes back.
They're both like, she sat in the middle of them, it's classic, like then, by the net, and Patrick's looking at her and Art's looking at her and Art's looking at Patrick looking at her and Patrick's looking at Art looking at her and then Patrick's looking at Zendaya and Zendaya's looking at Art and Art's looking at Patrick and then and it's like this constant like basically just the representation of this like weird love triangle that they're in. You
get the vibe as well, like I got the vibe that it was so much like they just respected her as a tennis player more than like as a person so much. That's what I got. Because everyone online now is like, aren't they? They're like, oh, Zendaya should have ended up with this person. Zendaya should have ended up with that person. I'm like, no, Zendaya should have ended up with no one.
We were both like, it's so obvious that it's not about like, are you team Patrick or team Art? Like, and I can understand how maybe you could see it like that if you were like, this is a romance. But I'm like, the whole point of the thing is it's about tennis.
Yeah.
And it's like, the thing she cares about the most is tennis.
Yeah, more than anything. More than either of them.
Yeah, more than either of them. And then they both also really care about tennis, but also they both really care about each other.
Yeah.
And about her, unfortunately.
But it's like
she's really mean to both of them.
Really mean to both of them. But it's like she cares about... They care about her, but not in the same way that they care about each other or they care about tennis. It's such like they're scared of her. They want her respect. They want her to think that they are better than the other one.
Yeah.
I don't think either of their romantic interest in her is anything to do with like her personality as much as it is to do with tennis and as much as it is to do with how she views one of them in comparison to the other.
Which you can tell because their initial interaction with her is they're both watching her play tennis.
Yeah.
And then they're like both immediately obsessed with her. Well, I think is it Patrick who says, are you going to come and watch Tashi Duncan? And Art's like, what? And then he's like, oh my God, I'm in love with her. She's amazing. And they sit down together and they're watching. And Patrick's like, oh my God, yeah, look at her. Isn't she great? Like, and Art's like slowly like, oh, and then they go to her party, her Adidas party, which I was like crazy.
Which she's in the most like iconic blue dress. I'm like, you would see that in Jane Norman. Do you remember Jane Norman?
Of course.
She would have bought that and walked away with one of the Jane Norman bags, and then it would have been her PE kit bag. That's where she got that dress from.
So funny.
It's so true. I literally remember being like, Jane Norman. Lovely.
I really liked the time of it.
Oh, yeah.
I really like things that are set in the noughties these days.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, the nostalgia.
Yeah. Party music from the noughties. I don't know if it's because obviously we were like going to school discos and shit in like 2004 when this music would have been like popping off.
Yeah.
But it's so, to me, it's like some of the best.
Yeah.
It's the songs that you still put on your party playlists today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was such excellent vibes. And when they were at the beach, that first conversation, I love it now, like when you know what happens and you know who she is, when you kind of watch her being like, I don't want to be a home wrecker, and kind of being like, oh, you're both interested in me. Oh, it's not like she's like flattered. It's like she can be like, how am I going to make this fun for me?
Yeah. You can see she's like assessing them.
Yeah.
And even though they're all meant to be 18 sort of when they meet, I think. So they're like, they're all really young.
Yeah.
You can tell that obviously because she's like a child star and a child sports star that she's been brought up to be like very analytical and think about the
image
game
and
think about like how she can win every match.
Yeah.
And so she's like, how can I win every interaction?
Yeah.
How can I win all my conversations with these boys?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
because there's that bit
so
as well,
good. It's so good.
In that scene, that's the bit as well when they're talking about the game where she like absolutely annihilated another player. She goes on this speech about like how, well, there was a moment there, not very long because I was so good, but there was a moment there where we were both really playing with each other, against each other. It's like we were in love, and that is like my favourite thing ever about tennis, and like that is why I do it. And you're just kind of like, oh shit, slay. Like I remember just being like, okay, that like makes so much sense as well. It's like as much as she loves winning, it's like winning is so like she's so accustomed to winning by that point, and she's 18 that she's like, oh, I want a good match. I want to be playing with someone. I don't just want to be annihilating someone.
And so like all of these like interactions throughout the years that she's having with Art and with Patrick, because throughout her being married to Art, she cheats on him with Patrick twice. At least twice. And it's like, because Art is no match for her. Art is nice to her and is one of her fan club.
Yeah.
Like she has this whole argument with Patrick where he's like, that's just what you want. You just want me to be in your fan club. And she was like, you're not my fan club. Like, but Art is.
No, but she goes so like, you're not a part of my fan. Like the way she does it is so like I was like, oh, they're gonna.
Oh,
but
I really thought.
But that's the whole film. The whole film was like, they're gonna. Oh no! Okay, next scene. They're really not. Okay, cool. But yeah, great.
Yeah, and so she's like, Art is not her competition. They're not like having any back and forth really. She's just like, I'm winning. I'm in control. I'm in charge of this relationship. Whereas like she feels like Patrick comes in and actually like challenges her because he's so chaotic and he's very different from Art, and he's really like egregious and sort of whatever. Basically, Art's complete opposite. But then she still finds with him that obviously he gives in to her, he gives her what she wants, and she's like, ugh. Oh, this is actually so unsatisfying.
Yeah, it's like she's so like, she wants the grass to be greener. Yeah. But wherever she is, like as soon as she sleeps with Patrick, she's always like, and goes back and like, it's like, she doesn't tell Art, but you can tell that she's like, oh no, this is what I want. I want this. I want my family. I want to be able to coach you to win, da-di-da-di-da. But then whenever that kind of passes, she sees Patrick as something that she wants, and it's like the grass is not greener. Either way, she's unhappy or she's not satisfied or whatever.
Yeah, because she's like always...
You will never be satisfied.
She's always striving.
Wow, I can't believe it. Alexander Hamilton was in this film. Crazy.
Like, yeah, she's always striving. And after she does her knee, or before as well, but after she does her knee, she's like, I'm never going to feel that feeling of winning.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, like I said, win in my life.
Yeah.
And so these boys are just basically like collateral damage. And her mum and her poor daughter. And whoever Art's playing at the beginning, that boy, and they see him in the corridor and they're both like,
yeah.
And I'm like, that's a child.
That's a poor young man. Yeah. Oh, funny.
Zendaya's like, fuck you.
Yeah. I did love the tennis.
Yeah.
And I did love Zendaya. I loved everything she did. I loved the bob. I was literally like, wow, I can't believe Zendaya invented the bob haircut.
They made her look old though.
But
how did they make her look so old? Because I'm like, when she's
so young.
When she's 18, I was like, yeah, that's what she looks like. They've not made her look younger.
Yeah. I think she really shone in when they were young, and the boys really shone in when they were older.
Yeah.
I think she is slightly better suited to playing younger characters. She slayed throughout. They all did. But I do think
she's still only like 27, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
so yeah. Whereas
can she not be younger than me, Angela?
Whereas the guy, especially the guy who plays Patrick,
he's like 31.
Yeah. So they're just that smidge older, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
What about Mike Feisch?
Mike Feisch, love him. King, first of all, from Dear Evan Hansen, original Broadway cast. Dear Evan Hansen.
I couldn't believe it when I was seeing those clips. I could believe it when I was seeing those clips of him dancing in West Side Story, and I was like, oh,
he's
oh god,
he's
baby,
Broadway royalty.
Yeah, and I did not know this.
The problem is that what I found particularly with Art's character and slightly Zendaya's is that like I was like, am I interested in like you the character, or am I just like you're so talented? The actor is very talented.
Hard to say.
Whereas Patrick, I was like, I can't believe that's the same man who plays the priest in Emma 2020.
The stupid
priest who I love that film, and I think he's so good in it. And I was like, I cannot believe, to the point that I was convinced, because I've always been a little bit confused between these two men, between Josh O'Connor, I think his name is Callum Turner. He's another British actor. He's also in Emma, and he's dating Dua Lipa. Yeah. And he's
definitely called Callum. Yeah,
I can't remember Callum what though, but he's really fit, and I've always found him very sexy. He was in like an E4 series about 10 years ago as well, called like, I want to say Glue. It was like about on the farm
when he falls down the
yeah. But I can't remember anything else. But I've really fancied him in that, and I've loved him ever since.
And he's dating Dua Lipa, and I'm like, how did you meet?
I know, I'm like, slay. They're such a great
couple.
So
you are not famous. How did you meet Dua Lipa?
He's quite famous.
He's not Dua Lipa famous. Dua
Peep. But to the point that Josh O'Connor was so good as Patrick, and so like sexy. And I've never really been attracted to Josh O'Connor before. That I was like, is that the guy who's dating Dua Peep? Like, I literally the whole time was like, that's the guy who's dating Dua Lipa, right?
What's he doing here?
Dua
Peep, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I kept being like, oh yeah, because he's in Emma. So I was like, yeah, it is him because he's in Emma. And I was like, they're both in Emma 2020. Josh O'Connor playing Patrick was like so good.
When they're in the sauna.
And
so they're he's naked in the sauna, he walks in, he's showing his dick to Art's like, put your dick away.
This is the day before the final match.
We're in the present day.
Reached the final of the challenges in La Rochelle.
He sits. It's not La Rochelle.
That's in France.
La Rochelle is a place where they do tennis. That's where they do the French Open, I think.
It's in France.
But no, it's like...
No, it's something Rochelle. You carry on.
And he's sat, and then Art's like, put your dick away. And then he just sits and he just drapes his towel just sort of over his crotch and the top of one of his legs. And he sat there, and I was like, I know I'm supposed to be getting other stuff from this scene. Well, maybe I'm not actually, because I was just like, crazy.
New Rochelle,
New
York City,
La Rochelle.
There were so many bits, especially with Josh O'Connor, but with all of them, where I was like, I can't pay attention because your legs are ridiculous.
When I tell you, I mean, you are disagreeing with this, and I'm not sure why, but this is probably one of the horniest films I've ever seen. Like, I was finding it crazy horny. Like, the three-way kiss, and then the two of them are kissing. And the sexual tension between Art and Patrick is insane.
It's unmatched.
It's bizarre.
It's unmatched.
If you've seen it, you will know there's a scene where Patrick comes and visits them at Stanford, I assume, for the first time. Him and Art are in the like dining hall or whatever. Art walks up to him. Patrick just pulls the stool with his foot towards him. I was like, you're gay. You're gay.
Before he's even sat down.
He sits down.
So like as he sits down with his foot, he pulls the chair in. And I was like,
in the cinema by myself, just like,
I was like, guys,
did everyone see that?
I was like, can we pause that? rewind.
Play it back.
Because in that moment, the scene before, Art is trying to like tell Zendaya basically like,
oh yeah, he's not
make
in love with
her
you.
believe that he's either cheated or that he's not in love with her. In the next scene, Art is doing the same thing to Patrick, and it's so good because Zendaya kind of like kicks off a bit and is really like, you think I want someone to be in love with me, like you, you're such a shit friend, and Patrick's like,
I love you like this.
yeah,
this
Patrick's like, this is so amazing to see you this way. And I was like, and then Art is like smiling and is like trying not to break his like lie, and then starts smiling, and then they share a churro, and you're like, that
when he bites the churro, he holds it out to Art bites it, Patrick smiles. I was gone. I was done. And that's only like 45 minutes into the film. Like, I was like, what else is going to happen?
The way that these two look at each other,
oh my God,
is like unmatched levels of you're in love.
You're in love.
You're in love.
I was like, guys, you're in love. I don't understand why Zendaya's even here.
Yeah.
Because you're in love.
You're in love. How do you not know this? How do you not... Are you okay? Like, yeah. I thought you were smart boys. I think for me, the reason it wasn't like horny for me is because like 90% of the time when Zendaya's with the boys, I was like, this is nothing to me.
But it's not nothing because I'm like, well, sorry, it's nothing to you. To me, it was not nothing because they've all not so much really in the present. In the present, I'm kind of like, you're sort of a bit past that, and you're more thinking about how they've all kind of fucked each other over emotionally, and then also tennis. But like when she does her knee, and then Art is there with her, and then Patrick tries to come in, and she's like,
and he's like, fuck off, Patrick. Yeah, well, to be fair, when Art when she breaks her knee, and I had to cover my eyes. I knew it was coming, and I was like, I had to cover my eyes. I hated it. And he runs down, he like jumps over things, leaps over the net, picks up her head, like all of that. I was like, you're okay. That's the main bit where I was like, okay, you love her. But then I'm also like, is it just because you know how big of a deal this is? I kind of agree in the sense that when they're younger, it is a lot more like tension. But I think the whole time I was just like, no, I want the boys to be together. Like they have to me, they had the best chemistry. Although I must say, when Tashi and Art get together at the Applebee's, classic, then they're in the car park, and he was
by
like,
the Jeep Wrangler.
He was like, I really want to kiss you right now, and I was like, Neil was like, like in the cinema, like, gross, lame, like I was like, ugh. And then they did kiss, and I was like, I'd take it all back.
She's wearing wedges.
It's so 2009. I can't stand it.
I was obsessed.
They and like that was the kiss that I kind of like believed her the most, I think, in all of the. But I think that's what you're meant to do, is that at that point she's a bit more vulnerable because of her knee. She's a bit more like, oh, I want this.
When they're having that conversation at Applebee's, she is so like a toned down version of herself. She's so like just sort of quite placid, quite friendly, just sort of like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just kind of like doing this and that. Like, you didn't think I was going to like stop playing tennis. Haha, I'm just being so-and-so's hitting partner. Because she's obviously like resigned herself to the fact that it's just never going to happen. And like, I think if he hadn't been like, be my coach, they never would have got together.
100%. Right? She needed the tennis element of it to be with him. And that is why later, as soon as he's like, I'm going to retire, no matter what happens this season, he's like, tell me you'll leave me if I lose tomorrow. And she's like, no. And then she's like, I will divorce you if you lose tomorrow. And then they start snogging. Yeah,
it was a weird scene, wasn't it? Yeah. Like, I was a bit like, I'm a bit confused about what the message is supposed to be. This is in present day, they start making out, and then they kind of they're both kind of crying, and they stop, and then he like lies on her knee,
and he's like, hold me till I fall asleep. She does, and then she goes and Patrick in a car. And the wind, I was like, can we calm down this wind?
The wind! I was like, there's no way it would have been this windy. Why is it so windy?
So windy, and the next day it's like beautiful. Yeah. Like, there were some points of it, production-wise, that I was like, I love Luca Guadagnino. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. Probably am. And I like all of his films that I've seen. He did Call Me By Your Name. He did Bones and All. He has now done Challengers. All very different vibes is what I would say. And I don't necessarily think his style is best fit with this, like all like the crossfades of like, you know, we're in one's in, and then it like we're in the Applebee's parking lot, and then it's a crossfade with some really like deep music playing in the background, and then we're like at tennis, you know, we're at tennis camp or whatever it might be. It's, to me, it's so different to like you crossfade from like the Italian scenery of Call Me By Your Name crossfaded to they're doing an archaeological dig by the ocean. Like, it works, and I don't think it worked. And also, I hate to be hate to be an old lady. I hate to be my mother. But in particular scenes, I was like, can we turn the club music down?
The music was too loud and I couldn't hear what they were saying.
In the sauna, I was like, this is why like it ruined the horniness for me. It's like the sauna, excellent scene. The eye contact,
yeah.
Unmatched. The way they're talking to each other, I was like, they're going to in the sauna. I'm like, one of them's going to suck the other one off in this sauna. I was convinced it was going to be like, it gets into a bit of a fight and then like no kissing, like Patrick just goes down on him. That's what I was like, this is what's coming. Because of the tension. The eye contact, my guy, it was crazy. And then the club music was too loud. That I kept having those horniness braked by being like, can we turn the music down a bit?
I agree with that. Like I was saying that there's like this one particular bit of music that I thought was like the music that always played when Tashi and Patrick were like looking at each other, that I was like, I'm obsessed with this. This is like really doing it for me. But that only works if they're not talking. Yeah. There was like a bit where Tashi and Patrick were making out at some point and I was like, it
worked so
this
good.
Is working.
When they're making out against the car. Just like Art and Tashi did.
Unbelievable.
I didn't put
what a director.
Wow, crazy.
I was like, this is working for me so much. But yeah, then they were having this conversation in the sauna and then he's put this club music over it. And I was like, I can't hear what this is.
I don't think it was club music then though. It was like really like ambient, like moan kind of music, like the Dune music. Just over the sauna. But I was like, it was very dramatic and I was like, can we turn it down? Because actually like it's killing the tension a bit of what they're saying, because what they were saying to each other was great.
I agreed with that. And I was obsessed with this film because of the like horniness and the vibes. I didn't think all of the dialogue was great. Like I said to Sam, I wasn't sure that Sam would like it that much. Same with Dan. Yeah. Because I think they would both just be like, this is not that well written.
No.
If you were really, really into film, which obviously you are, but like you are high on the vibes.
Yeah,
like,
I love vibes.
The boys cannot like get over that kind of stuff.
Listen, I'm really into film.
I very much can.
I'm really into film, but I've seen all of the Kissing Booth films multiple times, so.
And all of the Twilights.
And all of the God, too many times the Twilights.
And
Tall Girl 1 and 2.
Tall Girl?
Oh, we don't have time. I agree with you. I think some of the dialogue was not great. I loved all of the tennis scenes, but there were some bits where I was like, we're playing Wii tennis. when it's like POV on the camera, you're like, it's really a bit like, oh.
Yeah, then like him putting the camera on the ball, I was like, I didn't need this. It made me feel a bit sick.
Yeah, same.
Or on the racket, I was like, no, I didn't need this. Like, and I understand what you're going for. I get it. I was kind of just
some of the sweat, I was like, that's water. Do you know what I mean? I was like, some of it, when
sweat does not run like that.
I have got like in my brain burned into it, and I'm glad for it. The image of Josh O'Connor kind of like bending over, getting ready to serve, and his leg, the quad was popping, and I was like, I was literally like, oh my god. I was like, that's crazy. And it's kind of like glistened with sweat, and you get it. And I understand. I know that people playing tennis sweat a lot, but I'm like, but they're actors. And I know that you've just poured some water on their head.
Yeah, like there's one bit with Art in particular where in that last tennis match, and the sweat's like dripping off his nose. And I was like, just it would be like one drip. Yeah. Okay, if it's pouring off him, is he unwell?
Yeah, yeah. Before the final tennis match, Tashi goes to Patrick and says, I will coach you. They in the car, and then she's like, I need you to lose tomorrow, because she knows he's going to win because of Art being in a funk. She's like, please lose tomorrow. He needs to do this. He needs to win a title. Does he, or does she?
Wow.
And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So they're playing really well. And then it's down to like kind of the final points, and Patrick, you can see him, he's like looking at, it goes on a bit actually, he's looking at Tashi, he's looking at
looking
he's looking at the tennis ball, he's looking at the net, he's looking at the umpire, he's looking at, and you're like, oh, come on. And
because we don't know until the very end that she's the scene where they in the car is not until just before the very end, so we don't know that she's asked him to lose. So at this point we think they're just doing standard competition, because what Patrick says is, all right, I'll do it, but I'm going to make it hard for him. Like, I'm not going to just give up in the second set. Like, we're going to go to the end. We're going to go to the end of the tiebreak, and then I'll concede 1 point to it. That's the vibe. And because he has to feel like he's won it. That's what he says, which I was like, you do like him.
Yeah, you love him. Stop his wife. Have you considered not his wife?
And Patrick's like, no, I never actually thought about it.
Oh, crazy. I didn't know I could do that. And so then they're playing this final bit, and he's doing the looking, and you know, Patrick's like, am I going to throw this?
And Zendaya's like,
can you... Zendaya's like, this is taking so
hurry
long.
up. I have got a daughter.
And then there's a callback. There's an earlier bit in the film where when Patrick and Tashi first get together, and Art is like, just tell me if you
Yeah, when they're like 19.
yeah, and Patrick's like, I can't, she's asked me not to tell you, and she's like, yeah, but it's me, like, you tell me, we're besties. Okay, don't answer it. If you did do the tick that I do when I serve, which is like putting the tennis ball to the center of the little...
No, because he says, do a normal serve.
Oh,
and then Patrick says,
like, you do this.
Tick. And Art's like,
and that's when
to silence.
When he spits the gum into his hand. And I was like, that's not things straight friends do, guys.
I found that so fit. I hate myself. Don't you worry. But when he's like, Art like chews gum, and there's a scene earlier where Zendaya holds out her hand.
Oh, right, at the beginning of the film,
he spits his gum into her hand, and you're like, oh, well, they're married. Like, that's kind of a thing. Like,
yeah,
you know, whatever. It's a thing, a personal thing you would maybe do with someone you were married to. But then, we're in the past, and it's like he did that with Patrick first.
And Patrick's like, yeah, you know, you've got this tick when you serve, and it's like he puts the tennis ball to the little triangle under the... Guys, I don't know how to play tennis. Under the netting of the racket, under the wires,
like it's beneath the like oval, but above the handle. There's like that.
Triangle. You guys know.
And he like puts it every time he serves. He puts the ball there, like perfectly into the thing.
And so he's like, I'll do that. And so he does that, and Art has this reaction of like, haha, yeah. And then he's like,
Patrick turns away, and he's like, oh god.
And you're like, who's he jealous of?
Yeah.
Who's he jealous of?
Both.
And then in the final match, after all of this looking around, Patrick does that. And for so long after, you know, that Tashi and Patrick slept together in the present day and the final match, I'm like, he's going to do it. For ages. And then he kept serving and kept, like, there was so much looking, and he kept serving and not doing it. And I was like, okay, maybe he's not going to do it. Next time, a big look. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. And so when he finally does it, you're like, yeah! I was like, amazing. And they share this look, and Patrick smiles, and you're kind of like, are you being a prick? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. Like, what are you trying to tell him, sort of thing. Art like throws the last point basically so that they go to tie break. And then there's this whole thing of like, am I going to play? Am I not? Am I going to lose this? Or am I going to, you know, give it my best? And he goes and he gives it his best. And I was like, that last tie break point, I was like, hell, this is crazy.
Yeah, because they're like, they're both quite close into the net, and they're sort of volleying.
Well, they're getting closer and closer.
Getting closer. They're volleying back and forth, and it's kind of like bam, 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 bam. And you're like, okay, now we're really like doing this. Like we're back to the beginning when they used to play together and they knew how to do all these things.
And they're smiling at each other, and they're like, look really happy, and they've got like the glow in their eyes sort of thing. And you're like, okay, so, and neither of them are looking at Zendaya anymore. They're not looking to her for approval. They're just playing. Yeah. And then it gets right to the end. So it bounces off the net. And so they both jump, and they're so close to the net. And Art is like in the air. And it looks like he's going to like whack Patrick with the tennis racket, which you'd be like, fair. He has shagged your wife twice since you guys have been together. He comes down, and it's like going like slow-mo, going to all of their faces, blah, blah, blah. Instead of hitting him, they just like fall into a hug, and they like start laughing.
Well, it's like Patrick, because he's jumped.
Yeah, Patrick like catches him. Yeah, from like he's high up, like catches the lower back and like pulls him to him, and you're like,
they like, he's like kind of like, and they're like,
Art's kind of like surprised, and then is like laughing, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then Zendaya stands up and like erupts and like roars, and I was like, who's won? I was so confused. I was like, oh my god, who's won? And I came out, and I had to Google it because I was so like, I don't understand what's happened because it's not clear who's won. And she's roared, and then it was like, she erupts like that as she did in the first match she plays with that girl because that last tiebreak was such a good match.
Yeah, she's just like, she doesn't care about any of the things going on between the three of them in that moment. She's like, just so excited to see some good tennis.
Yeah, and I was like,
brilliant.
That's brilliant. I was like, that's so good.
Yeah,
the fact that she like does not care at that point of the fact that she's probably sussed out that Art knows about them. She sussed out that Patrick isn't throwing the game anymore. Like, she sussed out something has changed. It's obvious to everyone that something in that last set has changed. Yeah. And she doesn't care that it could completely shift the way her life is currently, how she's currently living her life. She's just like, that was some good tennis. She's like, those two were in love playing that tennis. Because, you know, when she's like at the beginning, like, oh, it's like we were in love. And it's like that tennis match at the end, it's like they were in love. Yeah. Because they are in love. It was so good.
It's so good.
It was so enjoyable. People keep calling it like, oh, it's the film of the year. It's the film of the year. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure it is. No. I don't think it is, but I do think that it is an excellent, excellent vibey film. Josh O'Connor's tan legs, 10 out of 10.
It's a film that I'm like, I know I will watch it a million times.
Yeah, 100%. I watch it so much.
Can't wait for it to come on Prime.
I can't wait to like go back and watch it and pick up on all the like the little bits that like you say, like the gum thing.
Yeah.
When he spits it into Zendaya's hand in the present day, but at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, marriage, love. And then he does it with him and you're like, oh no, okay. Because I'm like, with that, I'm like, if I had to take a piece of gum that you had chewed, I wouldn't be like, that's gross. Like, I'm not like opposed to that. It's not that I'm like, oh, I've got your spit in my hand or anything. But it's more like, I don't think I would ever be that close to your face and be like, spit. Do you know what I mean? It's that.
I don't think if you were like, can you just take
this?
I
wouldn't give a fuck.
Off your mouth.
Yeah.
You can't like, whatever. It's the spitting it directly into the hand for me.
And the hand being so
then
close
like,
in between you. Yeah. My guys,
big moment
that's
for me.
Fruity.
That, the churro bite, the stool pull.
The stool pull was it for me. The stool pull was my favourite bit between the boys. That whole scene in the.
Sorry, I was off thinking about things that happened when he hits his boner. And I can't lie to you, I loved watching them kiss.
The boys.
I loved watching them kiss. I was like, more of this,
There
please.
was too much tongue. For all of the kisses, there was so much tongue like on the cheek. And I'm like,
there was one kiss between Tashi and Patrick where I was like, out.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was. It might have been in the present day by the car.
Or the one in the bar in Atlanta when she's just gotten engaged. They kiss in the bar and I was like,
and it was like,
intense.
I saw someone's physical tongue outside both of their mouths and I was like, whoa.
Well, Josh O'Connor, love him, good man. So I've heard, I don't know. Josh O'Connor, good man, kisses with his tongue outside of everyone's mouth constantly. Every kiss. And the kiss between him and Art at the beginning, when it's just, I know it's because a three-way kiss, you have to accept that sometimes the tongue isn't going to be where you need it to be, where you want it to be. You have to accept that.
You just have to accept
You just have to accept it. But like when it's just him and Art kissing or when it's just him and Zendaya kissing, I'm like, there's no excuse for your tongue to be on her cheek.
He's got a big mouth though.
He's got a huge mouth.
Big mouth, big nose.
He's very British looking. He's the epitome of a fit British man.
He really is. And actually I was like, if I had gone to like uni with him, I would have been like,
it would have been over.
I would have been
joking?
like, I have to have him.
Yeah. I've seen loads of tweets and stuff of people being like, I can't believe that Mike Feist isn't European, that he's actually American, because like the way he looks and the way he speaks sounds like someone doing an American accent. And I'm like, maybe that's why I fancy him too. Because I'm like,
he looks European.
He looks British, and he's a musical theatre boy. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, in his body.
That friendship, imagine being at uni, okay, and those two running around on campus. You'd be like, I don't know where to look.
But also you'd be like, those boys are in love.
Yeah, but I'd also be
Someone
like,
needs to tell them.
You'd be like, three-way kiss. You guys want to have a three-way kiss because it's less gay? Okay. Sure. Those are the type of boys at uni, at British uni, who would be like, listen, me and my mate, we just really want to try having a threesome with one girl. Like, it's not because we're like gay or anything. It's like just because actually we think it'd be quite fit to like see the girl like being like da-da-da. And then the girl would be sat on a chair in the corner of the room while they asked. Do you know what I mean? Like, you would... Why not? Like, that is what would happen.
Yeah, you're so
right. Like, that is the vibe of those two, especially if they were at British uni. They would be asking every girl in pop world for a threesome.
Do you know what I think?
Tell me.
That this film would have been even better if they'd all been British.
I 100% agree.
If it hadn't been as much as I love Zendaya, if it hadn't been Zendaya and it had been like, who's British? I
can only think of like Phoebe Dynevor from Bridgerton. I thought of a good one.
Yeah.
What about Kaya Scodelario, Effie from Skins?
Because she did that ice skating film.
Yeah.
As we know, she can do a love triangle. Daisy Edgar Jones. The thing is though, she couldn't do the Zendaya character.
Well, I'm like, oh yeah, that's
she couldn't do
true.
the character of someone who cares about anything. Sorry, Daisy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. I know she's not British, but she is British to me. Oh my god, possibly. Emma Mackey from Sex Education. Imagine Emma Mackey, Josh O'Connor, and Dula Peep's boyfriend.
And Dula Peep's because Josh O'Connor and Dula Peep's boyfriend look so similar. You'd be like, oh god, I'm so confused. Like the whole point is they have to look opposite. They have to be contrasting, physically and mentally contrasting. Josh O'Connor, Emma Mackey, and then who's like blonde? Who's like a blonde? Not that I think actually Mike Feist is actually blonde in real life.
Tom Holland.
But actually...
Tom Holland plays Zendaya's character.
No, I think it works with Tom Holland because of Billy Elliot. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Will Poulter or Jack Loudon. Do you know Saoirse Ronan's boyfriend? I love challenges as is, but do a remake with Josh O'Connor, Emma Mackey, and Jack Loudon. And you don't understand. British challenges.
Please, I need it. I
Oh
need
my
it. I
God.
need them to be
Or
in like
what about
like a like inner city London tennis court.
yeah, this is maybe a crazy one, but I don't know why it's popped in my head. John Boyega. I know he's not blonde, but he'd be really good at playing that sort of character. And I love John Boyega. British challenges. Get Dua Lipa's boyfriend in there somewhere. Recast Josh O'Connor with Dua Lipa's boyfriend. People are like, I can't believe they've cast the same actor.
That's the same guy.
Oh, crazy.
It's been a long time since I've watched a film where there have been specific moments I've been like, I'm obsessed. And I was like thinking about it, looking at Twitter and just being like, yes, yes,
sending
yes,
me all these
tweets, all these, the edit to the whatever that song is.
The new one.
I like the way you kiss me. I think it's
I like the way you kiss me. Oh
that
yeah,
one, and
that
the
was
one
so
to
good.
the one to Good Luck Babe as well.
Yeah.
There was one to Good Luck Babe. You know, when the lyric in that song that's like, when you wake up next to him in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night with your head in your hands and nothing more than his wife.
And on that, there's nothing more than his wife. It cuts to a clip of present day Art and Tashi when they're having the conversation where Art is like, will you leave me? And there's a shot where it cuts down to him like playing with his wedding ring. Nothing more than his wife, him playing with his wedding ring. I was like, whoever made this,
you good work, editors of the internet.
Slay.
Oh, I love when people make edits. It really just does something good for my brain. So if you've not seen it and you were interested in seeing it, I would 100% recommend seeing it in the cinema. It is a really good vibe to see in the cinema. It's
I
like,
agree.
yeah.
And I'm not really pro the cinema, so
You hate film. This is why films are dying out.
I'm not anti the cinema.
I can't wait till it comes on Prime over here.
I find it very loud.
Yeah.
I find it too loud and I find it overwhelming.
That's fair.
That's just me with my sensory issues.
Thank you so much for watching / listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Horny Film Club.
Woo!
Let us know if there's any films that you would like us to talk about, because this has been fun. And It's much less prep than reading a book. If you did enjoy this, please rate us 5 stars on wherever you're listening, or like the video if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram, the H Book Club, TikTok, HBC Podcast, YouTube, HBC Podcast. Email us, hornybookclub@gmail.com.
Smashed it.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Goodbye, my friends.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.